Hello and welcome to the Colorado Health Foundation's Available Funding webinar. My name is Amy Latham and I am the Vice President of Philanthropy here at the Foundation. Let's go ahead and get started. Today I will share an introduction to the Foundation and some general information about our grant making, including grant eligibility, our guidelines for funding diversity, different funding types available from the Foundation, and ideas for helping us stay connected. First, I'd like to share a little bit about the Foundation and what informs and drives our work. Here at the Foundation, our mission is to improve the health of Coloradans. We work towards our mission by being singularly focused on helping Coloradans live their healthiest lives by advancing opportunities to pursue good health and achieve health equity. We work through grant making, policy advocacy, program-related investments, and convening, all to drive change. We provide $100 million in grants and investments annually to meet the health needs of communities throughout all of Colorado's 64 counties. At this point, I always like to note that although we do have significant resources, demand for funding always exceeds our available resources. Typically, at each grant deadline, funding is highly competitive. There are three cornerstones that underlie all of our work and that we look for in the work of our partners. First, we serve Coloradans who have low incomes and have historically had less power or privilege. Second, we are informed by the community and those we exist to serve. And finally, everything that we do is done with the intent of creating health equity. Our organization's strategy has equity at its heart. We know that lack of opportunity, poverty, racism, all of these are key drivers of health challenges experienced by Coloradans, their families, and communities across the state. Because of this, we think it's really important that every step we take creates fair opportunities for those for whom health is furthest from reach. We believe that health equity exists when there are no unnecessary, avoidable, unfair, or systemically caused differences in health status. Our strategy is designed to bring health and reach for all Coloradans by strengthening bodies, minds, and communities in the fight against unfair or avoidable differences in health. We divide our work into four areas: maintain healthy bodies, nurture healthy minds, strengthen community health, and champion health equity. We also fund cross-cutting efforts that address multiple focus areas at once. We generally make grants to two different types of organizations. The first is Colorado organizations classified as tax exempt under Section 501c3 of the Federal Tax Code. Secondly, we make grants to Colorado public agencies, including state and local governments, such as school districts. Please note that if a public support test requirement to retain public charity status applies to your organization, as a public charity grantee of the Colorado Health Foundation, it's really important that you ensure that the grant your organization receives will not cause it to lose its status as a publicly supported charity. We encourage you to contact a tax advisor if you have any questions about your status as a publicly supported charity. Generally, the Foundation does not make grants to the following: individuals, programs that require membership in a certain religion or advance a particular religious faith, for-profit organizations or programs operated by or for the benefit of for-profit organizations, debt retirement, fundraising events, or endowments. Additionally, we do not award grants to organizations that willfully discriminate against a particular class of individuals. To be eligible for funding, organizations must abide by all applicable local, state, and federal anti-discrimination laws in hiring, employment practices, and service provision. Foundation's intent is to encourage a diverse funding base in order to strengthen the financial health and sustainability of nonprofit organizations. In 2015, we set guidelines to ensure that an organization is not excessively dependent on Foundation funding. In general, we work to ensure that the annual grant disbursement from the Foundation does not exceed 25% of an organization's total annual expense budget. For those organizations receiving more than one grant from the Foundation, the guideline is 30% of the annual expense budget. These thresholds are considered when grant proposals are reviewed, understanding that at times the foundation may decide to go above these guidelines. In these instances, we'll work with the organization to ensure that future diversified funding sources are being considered and planned for. For fiscal sponsorships, this guideline does not apply to fiscal sponsors, but to the sponsored organizations. Now let's talk a little bit about the different types of funding that we have available. The Foundation makes grants through funding opportunities, our responsive grants program, and rapid response funding. Funding opportunities focus on specific needs aligned with a particular priority within one of our focus areas. These vary for each deadline. We ask applicants to address detailed criteria specific to that funding opportunity, and grant funding is highly competitive within the pool of applicants for each individual funding opportunity. The Responsive Grants program is dedicated to giving communities an opportunity to shift the way they address long-standing community needs. Successful applications will center on one of the following: never-before-seen innovative approaches or innovations that use existing resources in a new way, or an expansion of a program that has already demonstrated it's successful in the community, or finally, adaptation and deployment of approaches backed by credible evidence of impact in other communities. To learn more about the Responsive Grants program, you can visit our website, coloradohealth.org/informational-webinars. Finally, rapid response funding supports short-term advocacy initiative. There is no deadline for rapid response grants. We accept and consider these applications on a rolling basis. With the exception of our rapid response funding, the Foundation has 3 application deadlines each year: February 15th, June 15th, and October 15th. Applications must be submitted by 5 p.m. Mountain Time on the day of the deadline. When the deadline falls on a weekend or holiday, we ask that you submit your application by 5 p.m. on the next business day. It's important to us that you have several ways to stay informed about our work, and that we have ways of staying connected with what's happening in your communities and with your organizations. We encourage you to connect with our program staff with any questions about available funding, and to talk through your proposed projects or programs before you apply for a grant. You can reach a program officer by emailing funding@coloradohealth.org. Please be sure to note which Colorado county you work in and your funding priority of interest in your message. I also encourage you to join our mailing list at coloradohealth.org/join to receive emails about funding opportunities as well as other important updates. And of course, please follow us on our social media channels. This concludes today's webinar. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. You see my contact information right there on the screen, or it's also available on our website with any questions about what we covered today. Thank you so much for joining us as we work to bring health in reach for all Coloradans.